My Uber just arrived. Hi.
Hello, hi, good morning.
It's the day that we've all been waiting for. The DJI Osmo Pocket 3 is finally here and you're not going to be disappointed. Except for maybe one small thing that I'll talk to you about later on. It could be a deal breaker for some, but it wasn't for me.
Okay, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Welcome, bye.
Have a good day.
Okay, same to you.
Bye. So in this video I'm going to give you 12 reasons why I've absolutely loved using this camera over the past few weeks and why you might just fall in love with it too. When I first opened the box, I was so happy to see the larger screen, especially as it's almost 5 times bigger than the Pocket 2 screen. I always wondered how DJI would get away with keeping the camera compact whilst also increasing the size of the screen, but they did it. The screen rotates to maintain the slim form factor, and the rotation has 2 functions. You can power the camera on and off, and you can also enable it to start and stop recording too, kinda like a quick shot feature. And the second function is changing the screen's orientation, so you can go from horizontal filming to vertical filming without the camera or the gimbal needing to move. When you do switch to vertical filming, the resolution drops to 3K, which is still really decent. The menu system is really easy to use and it's really intuitive, and it follows the same design as the Osmo Action 3 and the Osmo Action 4. The video quality is amazing thanks to the 1-inch CMOS sensor, particularly when you're shooting in D-Log-M. When you shoot in the normal colour profile, it also looks really good, but there are some times when it can look a little bit unnatural, and this usually happens when I'm shooting directly into the sun. But in D-Log-M, when converted, before it's even been colour graded, the footage looks really great. There's also an HLG profile, and a feature that I stumbled upon which is actually really useful. When you're recording, you can change your EV meter at the same time, and I'll explain in more detail why that's so important in another video, so do subscribe so that you don't miss it. Having great battery life and being able to swap batteries when you're filming all day is a really big deal for a lot of people, myself included. So when I realised that the Osmo Pocket 3 actually came with an extended battery handle to give you better battery life throughout the day, that was just another reason why I absolutely fell in love with it. The battery handle will charge the Pocket 3 and fully deplete before the Pocket 3 actually dies, so it means that when you're out and about, you can take the battery handle off when it dies, plug it in, charge it up, and then when it's finished charging, you can put it back onto the Pocket 3 to keep it topped up throughout the day. The Osmo Pocket 3 has Active Track, which you can enable directly in the camera, so you don't actually need to use the Mimo app, which is awesome because it just means that everything is done on the camera itself. It has Face Auto Detect, which works great and is perfect if you vlog solo and need to track yourself whilst moving. And then there's dynamic framing, where you can select a point in the frame to lock the tracking onto. You can also change the tracking or start and stop it whilst recording, which is really useful. So the other favourite of mine is the expansion adapter, because it has a cold shoe mount on the side and it allows you to attach external accessories like an external mic, for example, or even a light. But the other thing is actually being able to mount it like an action camera, because you've got a mount on the back of the expansion adapter, so you could actually get some really great POV shots with it. In terms of audio, you're going to get really decent quality just from the inbuilt camera mics like you're hearing at the moment. But if you do want to get better, cleaner audio, if you're in a really noisy environment, then you can attach the DJI Mic 2 transmitter, and that's going to give you cleaner audio, especially if it's windy and you need to attach the windshield. The awesome thing about this as well is the fact that you don't actually need a receiver plugged into the Osmo Pocket 3. All you need is the DJI Mic 2 transmitter, which also fits really nicely into the expansion adapter, which is great if you're like me and you don't actually like wearing the transmitter. But the other thing is that you can also attach a lav mic to the transmitter so that you can hide the transmitter out of the way and just have something which is a little bit more discreet. Also, if you want to adjust any of the settings for the DJI Mic 2 transmitter, then you can do that directly on the Pocket 3 in the menu as well. The one thing that you won't find on the Osmo Pocket 3 though is a 3.5mm port, so you won't be able to use a microphone that has that connection, but if you want to use a USB-C mic, then you can use a USB-C mic plugged directly into the Osmo Pocket 3. The Osmo Pocket 3 has a dedicated low light video mode, which will definitely give you better performance in low light. But even if you don't use the low light video mode, then your footage is still going to look decent in low light, and it's because of that 1-inch sensor.
see that? Oh my god. Oh my god, what? Maybe it opens a special door somewhere?
Let me see.
I don't normally tend to talk about photo quality, but I think it's worth mentioning with the Osmo Pocket 3 because it takes some really high quality photos, and that's whether you shoot in JPEG or RAW. If you shoot in JPEG, you're going to be able to just share the photos as they are without having to do any editing to them whatsoever. But if you want to have that better flexibility to actually manipulate your photos and color grade your photos, then the RAW photos are going to give you that flexibility. The Osmo Pocket 3 has a really wide field of view, so it means that when you're vlogging you're going to get more in the frame. It also means that it doesn't feel really claustrophobic and you just haven't got this floating head in your scene. But if you do want a slightly wider field of view, then you can use the wide angle lens, which attaches magnetically to the front of the camera. It does create a little bit of distortion towards the edges of the frame, but it's not too noticeable, and the overall quality with the wide angle lens is still really good. There's also a black mist filter that it comes with that you can use to take that digital look off your footage, and it creates a really nice kind of dreamy effect, and it kind of blooms the highlights a little bit. So if you've got really harsh highlights, it's just going to soften them out a little bit. If you've been looking for a camera that could genuinely be an all-rounder for you and you want to use it as a webcam as well, then the Osmo Pocket 3 has that function. All you have to do is connect it via USB-C, select a webcam on the screen, and then you're good to go, and the quality of the footage looks really good. The next point might seem quite minor, but the protective case that comes with it is actually really great. The Osmo Pocket 3 fits nicely and snugly into it, and there's also a dedicated space for the wide-angle lens and mist filter, which holds them really securely. I've not had either of them fall out in these past few weeks, unlike the Pocket 2 case where I lost accessories in a matter of days. So this one is really great and really secure. If you like to film in slow motion, there's a dedicated slow motion mode which lets you shoot up to 4K 120, but it's not going to work if you're shooting in D-Log M. It'll only work if you're shooting in the normal colour profile, and nor if you're shooting in HLG. If you do want to use those colour profiles, then the highest you're going to be able to go to is 4K 60. And if you like to shoot time lapses, there are 3 modes that you can choose from. You've got the normal time lapse feature, you've got hyperlapse, and then you've also got the motion lapse, which allows you to shoot 4 points, so you can set the camera in different positions and then it will capture the motion of those 4 points. So remember in the beginning how I said that there's one thing that was disappointing for me about the Osmo Pocket 3. It's the fact that it's not weather sealed. There's no IP certification, so if you go out and it starts raining or snowing, then you're going to have to stop filming and just be really mindful of that, and also filming around sand and dust. Now, this isn't a deal breaker for me, and if it's not a deal breaker for you, then go grab yourself a Pocket 3. There's a link in the description which will also help out the channel. And if the weather sealing is a deal breaker for you, then you can look at something like an action camera instead, something that's going to be a little bit more rugged. I'd suggest the Osmo Action 4, and if you want to see how it compares to the Osmo Pocket 3 for vlogging, then you can check out my next video.